And welcome back to The Big Picture. We continue now to talk about our election decisions, in particular here in Erie County. Once again, all the 11 Erie County legislators are up for re-election. And in the 4th legislative district, which is Grand Island and the Tonawondas, Kevin Hardwick is the one running for re-election. There is a slight twist, however, as Kevin, who won almost 87% of the vote 2 years ago, was then running as a Republican. Now, this time around, Kevin has switched to the Democrat side of the aisle. So will that make a difference? Name recognition, affiliation, party affiliation, good looks, charm, a flip of the coin. What do people vote for these days and why? Well, as one who has 10 years or more in the legislature, maybe Kevin Hardwick has the answer. Kevin, welcome to The Big Picture.
Could we stick to the good looks and charm for a minute, Phil?
That'd
be nice.
You know, maybe the
coin
flip.
Well, I think you ask a good question. You know, I had a safe Republican seat. I've been elected there 4 times now in a row. The closest anybody got to me was the current Democratic chair, Jeremy Zellner, ran against me in 2011. I got 59% of the vote, he got 41. I won by 18 points there. That's as close as it's come. It's normally 2 to 1. Last time out, you mentioned the 80%. Let's not mislead people. I only had minor party opposition there. But when the Democrats would run someone against me, I'd, win by 20 to 30 some points. And now I'm running as a Democrat. Will that make a difference? Believe me, I've asked myself that question over and over again for much of the last year.
Well, you've been, first of all, you're not new at this.
No.
You've been around for 10 years in the legislature. And so you kind of know the inside out of the way things happen. Now, in your district, you're quite familiar with the people and the way things happen. Is it, as an incumbent, there's always an advantage there. Name recognition.
Certainly there is.
You've got a track record.
As if you have a good track record. Some people run from their record. I'm running on my record.
And that's why, and that's to be determined by the vote. Do you think that outweighs party affiliations in this particular case?
I think so. I mean, I think I wouldn't have been able to win in that district as a Republican initially, were it not for Democrat voters crossing over. I think I appealed to both Democrats and Republicans, and that's pretty much the way I work. I talk to my students at Canisius College, and I talk to them about political parties, and the problem with a 2-party system is that you only have 2 parties. It's tough to put yourself in a party and get a tailored fit, I mean, if we only had 2 sizes of clothes, small and large, there'd be a lot of us walking around, those mediums walking around either with clothes that are too big or clothes that are too small. But fortunately, we can have all sorts of sizes of clothes. It's not the same with political parties. And if people look at the Republican platform and then they look at what Democrats stand for, probably they're going to say, I like some of this, but I don't like some of this, and I like some of this, but I want to go away from some of this. And so that's the problem with the 2 parties. And I make the case to my students, I pose the hypothetical to them, that if the 2 popes in the Catholic Church now, we've got one that's retired, Pope Benedict, and Pope Francis came over here, that Benedict would probably be a Republican, and Francis would be a Democrat, which raises, of course, the question, are the popes Catholic? And of course, the popes are Catholic, and they believe the same thing, but you've got the Democrat Party over here, which is great on social justice, which would, appeal to Pope Francis, even though Pope Benedict would be social justice also, but Pope Benedict would probably be more voting on his abortion views, pro-life as opposed to pro-choice. And if you're a Catholic, what do? You got social justice over here, and you got pro-life over there, so you're set to decide which one is more important to you. And of course, there are other issues, and that's the problem with a 2-party system.
Well, depending on the level of government, you have a say in what goes on. If you're on a national level, there's different issues. I mean, in the state level and the county level. Now, we're talking about a local election, that's closer to the people. And the more local it gets, the more intimate the issues
Sure.
and the contact with the local people. So in a way, party affiliations take a lesser role when
Well,
it
as,
becomes
as,
local.
as the saying goes, there's no Democrat or Republican way to pick up the garbage or
Well,
to pave the roads
exactly.
in the case of
And
Erie
I've
County.
often found that even on any level, when people say they're a Democrat or Republican and they voice different positions, generally conservative, liberal, when you talk about issues, there's a certain understanding and logic that they come to agree in many instances. Now, certain morals, like the abortion issue, there's differences, but when you come up with basic human interest, yes and no questions, a lot of people tend to be on the same page, no matter what side of the aisle they're on.
Everybody wants good roads. They don't care
Right.
whether a Republican gets them or a Democrat gets them for them. They want good roads.
And everybody
and
wants
they want lower taxes.
Right, and everybody wants their government to be efficient
Yes.
in the way they spend the money. That's a key. I mean, to an extent, you want low taxes, but especially in the Buffalo area, you want value for anything.
Certainly.
I mean, we're bargain hunters. We don't mind paying, but we really want the most that we can get for the dollar that we spend.
Yeah, and those don't tend to be Republican or Democratic values. It's some people are better at it than others.
Well, now you're campaigning now. First campaign after you switched. You've got a young challenger who really is inexperienced, but he's very enthusiastic. Wants to serve. He's got a military record. Seems to be an honorable kid.
Certainly, I that's my impression of him. You like him a lot, and I imagine that however this turns out, we'll end up being friends after this. That's happened with all my former opponents, whether you talk about Jeremy Zellner or you talk about Bill Conrad, who's now a Tonawanda councilman. We ran against each other. In fact, he reminds me that I sued him 3 times to keep him off the ballot and wasn't successful, so we had to face off in the election. But when I had my radio show on WBEN, I had him as my co-host quite often. And we're the best of friends. And that's that's the way it should be. Right. It's too often it's not. I mean, you see, I'm a political scientist by profession. I teach at Canisius College. I love politics, but I'll tell you, the last few years, I've come to hate it. I want to stay away from it. I would rather talk to you about the Bills or the Sabres or kids or anything else.
Well, it's an
I don't like
interesting
to talk
dynamic.
about politics because it's so divisive now. We are so way out here or way out there, and it's tough.
And that's a whole different program.
That is a different program.
It's because it boils down to agendas and money and power, and there's a lot of elements that come into play when it gets that divisive. And again, we can go on and talk about that for hours. But when you boil it down to the local, it becomes a lot more basic. The state mandates, and I've had this discussion with a lot of the legislators, the state mandates a lot of what you guys do. So to an extent, your hands are tied. When you do have discretion, what can you do? What are the biggest things that face the legislature?
Well, I'll tell you. There's a lot of talk about the roads. I mean, we saw Lynn Dixon running against Mark Poloncarz, that ad she had where she's driving around the roads and hitting potholes and talking about the terrible, terrible roads that we have in Erie County. The county road system hasn't fully recovered from the red and green budget fiasco of 2005. At the time, we laid off a lot of the highway people. We put away, stopped doing a lot of the preventive maintenance, a lot of the road work, and it got backed up. So we've been clawing our way back. I don't know where Lynn Dixon was when she filmed those ads and what potholes she hit, but I know where she didn't hit them. She didn't hit them in the 4th district. You look at the roads, the county roads in the town of Tonawanda, they are the best in the county system. And Grand Island is not quite as good, but we're getting there. This year on Grand Island, we repaved Love Road, we repaved Bush Road, and we repaved half of Baseline Road. And we did a good job there. Those roads will not need to be fixed for probably 20 years. In the town of Tonawanda, I would defy anyone to find me a county road that's in poor shape. You know, we've done Eggert, we've done Colvin, we've done Ensminger, we've done Brighton, and just this year we did Ellicott Creek. I mean, the major county roads there are in fantastic shape, and that's no accident. I mean, you ask what a county legislator, what one person can do, you talk about efficiency and getting the biggest bang for the buck. The way we do it is we cooperate. One of the things I did right off the bat when I became county legislator is I started putting together meetings between the county highway people and the towns, the town of Grand Island, the town of Tonawanda. I also represent the city of Tonawanda, but there are no county roads in the city of Tonawanda. Anyway, we would sit down with the respective highway superintendents. We would sit down with the town board members and the supervisor, and we would talk about roads at least 2 or 3 times a year, and we still do it. I remember one of the initial meetings in the town of Tonawanda, we sat down with their then highway superintendent, a guy by the name of Bill Swanson, and I had just been talking to some people on Colvin Boulevard, and they had been complaining that their streets weren't getting swept the way the other town streets got swept because they were on a county road. And the town sweeper would come by and it would lift the brushes and then go on the side streets and not do it. And I found out that we only had one county sweeper at the time for from Boston to Grand Island, all the roads, so they weren't getting the service. Meanwhile, town of Tonawanda residents were getting it every week unless they lived on a county road. So I brought this up and I came with it and I said, I'm going to propose that maybe we do something like we do with the snow plowing. Because we have county roads, say on Grand Island, but we don't send a snow plow across the Grand Island Bridge. That'd be a waste of time. We just pay Grand Island to do it. We pay them so much per lane mile. And we do it with other towns, including the town of Tonawanda. So I came to Bill Swanson at this meeting and I said, well, why don't we do something similar here? Maybe we can pay you something. I'll go back and talk to the rest of the legislators, the county executive. We could pay you to sweep our roads. It'd be much more efficient. And Bill Swanson said, no need. I'll just sweep them. I'll just do it. No, Bill Swanson would be a terrible negotiator because he just gave away the store. Okay. I was talking to him about paying him for do something. He just gave it to us. So ever since, the county roads in the town of Tonawanda have been swept by the town sweeper. That's the sort of can-do attitude, the sort of cooperation you need. And they have also loaned us their paving equipment. We've gone in to pave county roads. We've paid for the materials. They paid for the machine because they have the machine rather than us renting it. We've been able to stretch our road budget a lot further because of this cooperation. And we get the same sort of thing with Dick Crawford, the highway superintendent on Grand Island. It's that sort of cooperation rather than having your own little fiefdom. That's a county road, don't touch it. That's a town road, don't touch it. No, we cooperate. And my job has just been, I'm not going to pave the roads, but I'm going to facilitate cooperation among the people who will do it. And we've made out quite well. Again, you go down to Tonawanda, you won't see Lynn Dixon riding around because there aren't the potholes on those roads. Those roads are in great shape.
The implication is that if you have somebody in there that knows how to play the game, with experience, you get things done.
And it's experience and developing the relationships. There's a lot to be said for that in any business.
Okay. Well, as usual, time goes really quickly, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to get into whether time on the job and experience is the best thing, or how long is long enough, when you serve. Anyway, we'll be right back. Interesting discussion. Stay tuned.